Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a narration of a message that I received. The narration reads like this. Hello my brother, how are you? Can you please post my story? I have my story that I want to share with you. So my brother, me and my husband, before we had gotten married to each other, what happened is that we used to attend the same school. Then we started dating whilst we were in high school. Then it happened that his parents then moved out of our village and they started staying in another village. When they were staying in that village, my brother, that was when he got a very nice job. He was now working as a delivery driver. So when he was working as a delivery driver, he then got the opportunity. Yes, he used to do a lot of illegal stuff, like whenever they would go out for a delivery, then him and his assistant drivers, they would regularly steal some of the stock that they would have. Then they would resell that stock. That was how my boyfriend was making a lot of money. So there was a time when I had gone to the village grocery store. Well, when I was there, that was when I came across my ex-boyfriend. So as two people who had dated each other in the past, that was when we decided that we had to continue with our relationship. So on that day, he then said to me, "Today I want to take you as my wife. I want to return with you back to my people. I am not going to leave you in this place." And unfortunately, at that time, I was dating another guy, so I was confused as to what I was supposed to do. And when I think about my story, I regret so much, because when I look at the guy that I was dating at that time, right now, even though he is not like rich, but when I look at his lifestyle and his wife, he is living a very comfortable life, and I regret all the things that I did to him, because I just dumped him and I left him without ever saying goodbye. So after I had spoken with my ex-boyfriend, he then said, "I am not going to let you go." So he then told me to get into his car. After I had gotten into his car, that was when he drove with me back to our place. So I then got off the car and I spoke with my little sister so that at least she can tell my mom. I was worried that if I just go and stay with this guy, then my mom will think that something bad had happened to me. So I told my little sister that when my mother will be looking for me, she was supposed to tell my mother that I had decided to get married. So me and my boyfriend, we then returned back where he was now staying with his family. And when I arrived at their homestead, I saw that yes, indeed, this was quite a very good decision that I had taken. And one thing that I have realized is that in a family, if things are going very well, there will be so much love. But the moment that in the family there won't be any money, that is when you will see the true colors of everyone. Because when I arrived there, it was like everyone was in love with me. Everyone was just saying, "Here is our daughter-in-law, here is our daughter-in-law." It was only after my husband had started struggling when people started showing me their true colors, like gossiping behind my back. When I was staying in the village where my husband and his family were now staying, now my husband was not staying with us 24/7. He will be working in the city, and he was like the only breadwinner in the family. He was the one who was responsible of taking care of everyone. I had tried to speak with my husband after I had found out that he was making money out of the deals that he was doing when he was working for that company. I told him that with all of these illegal dealings that you are doing, maybe one day it will all come to an end. At least we should have some livestock. But I felt to convince him. So my brother, after I had fallen pregnant, that was when things started going bad for my husband. When he returned back to work, unfortunately, he then found out that his assistant drivers, they had all been caught stealing, and things now were no longer the same. He was no longer making that huge amount of money that he was making, because his basic salary was just close to nothing. And him being the breadwinner, each and every time that he would return back to the village, quickly his salary will be finished, because he had such a huge responsibility placed on his shoulders. That was when I decided that it was far much better for me to go with my husband and suffer in the city than to suffer in the village. And everyone was now like hating me, because I heard that my brother-in-law one day, he had said that I was the one who had brought bad luck in the family, because after I had gotten married to my husband, that was when he could not make any money anymore. So I was the one who had bad luck. I then went and I started staying with my husband in the city. But when I got into the city, I saw that my husband was someone who didn't know how to use money properly. When I started staying with my husband in the city, in the family, this caused a lot of anger. Like my mother-in-law, she didn't like the decision that I had taken, but I knew that this is what I wanted to do. As time went on, still things got so hard, because what happened is that my husband was then involved in an accident, but he was not the one who was wrong. So when he tried to avoid another car, that was when he ended up hitting someone who was just walking along the road, and that woman, she passed away. So after this, that was when my husband got so much traumatized. What he will do is that in the middle of the night, he would wake up screaming, and when I would ask him, he will then say that it was the spirit of that woman who had died after she had been hit by the car that my husband was driving. That woman was the one who was tormenting him. So my husband then started visiting a lot of traditional healers, until my husband said that we had to go and visit this other traditional healer. I was still pregnant at that time. We then went to this other place. When we went there, this traditional healer, he stays in a very scary mountain, and he stays inside a cave. So at the place where this traditional healer stays, you cannot reach that mountain using your car. And that traditional healer, he does not want anyone to bring your modern things. He doesn't want anything that is modern close to that cave. So what he does is that if you go to have a consultation with him, and if you are driving a car, there is this other homestead where you leave the money and the car and the shoes, the phone, anything that is modern. Then you will go up the mountain. So when we had arrived at that homestead, that was when we left all of our belongings. After that, that was when we started walking towards the mountain. But it was not only me and my husband. There were other people that were traveling with us. We climbed up that scary mountain until we had reached a place where there was a shrine for that traditional healer who stayed in that cave. Then we sat down in a queue whilst we were waiting for our turn. When it was our turn, my brother, that was when me and my husband walked in. Then we sat down. Then the initiation process started. My husband and that witch doctor, they were talking to each other whilst I was just listening. That was when my husband told the witch doctor everything that was happening, like the spirit of that woman who had died after he had hit her with a car, how her spirit was tormenting him. That was when that traditional healer pointed at me, and he said that I was the only one who could make a sacrifice so that the spirit will never torment my husband again. He then pointed at me and he said, go into that corner. There was this other place in that cave where a lot of traditional stuff were. There were so many things. When I went there, I saw that there were horns of animals that I can't even describe. There were wooden plates, and there were plates that were made out of clay. He then said that I was supposed to pick one item amongst all of those scary stuff that were in that corner. So I tried to pick up a wooden plate, but it felt so heavy I could not pick it up. Then I tried to pick up a horn. Still, that horn, it was very heavy. I failed to pick it up. That was when I tried to pick up the clay plate. Then we continued with the rituals. That witch doctor instructed my husband that he was supposed to go outside and take some soil and place it into that clay plate that I had picked up. After that, that was when the witch doctor said that the soil that was inside the clay plate, it represented the soil that is on top of that woman who died in an accident after she had been hit by the car that my husband was driving. So after all of the rituals were done, we then returned back home. But my brother, what happened is that when it came time for me to go into labor, I then had a strange thing happening to me, because I saw that woman walking into that hospital where I was admitted. Then she tapped my stomach just a little bit. Then she walked away. And at the time when I had given birth to my baby, I felt that my baby was not crying at all. When I heard that my baby was not crying, I immediately knew that something was wrong, because the baby was not crying. Then the baby started, but the baby's cry was weak, it was not strong. That was when the nurses gave me my baby. When I looked at my baby, I saw that I had given birth to a baby that had a severe disability. My brother, this thing happened for the first time, then it happened again. When it happened again, after we had visited the doctor said that there was a strong possibility that I was going to give birth to a baby that had a severe disability. We then chose to go back to that traditional healer. He then said if he wanted me to have an abortion, he had all the charms and the herbs that he could give to me, and I would have an instant abortion. But we were supposed to keep that pregnancy, so we ended up keeping the pregnancy, even though we knew that I was going to give birth to a baby with a severe disability. This happened again for the third time, Brother Nash. Right now, me and my husband, we are living a comfortable life, as comfortable as it is, brother, but physically and mentally I have reached a breaking point, and I cannot do this anymore. Even though we have a helper that helps me to take care of my babies that have severe disabilities, but it is very hard, my brother, to give birth to 3 kids that have severe disabilities. Dear listeners, right there was a translation and a narration of a message that I received.